13 years was a long time, long enough for a person to forget the contours of a face, the sound of a voice, the warmth of a touch. But Margaret Kingsley had forgotten nothing. Every morning, without fail, she would sit on the back porch of her aging farmhouse on New Earth 3, brushing her thin silver hair behind her ear as she gazed across the rolling plains. Local wildlife chirped or bounded through the tall grass. But that wasn't what she waited for. She waited for the sky to ripple, for the air to shimmer the way it once had on the day that changed her life, the day she met Taikari, the alien feline towering. Sleek-furred Luminoside had been a juvenile then, barely the size of a large dog, lost, scared, hunted, injured, and far from its pride. Margaret had found it struggling in her barn, hiding behind a stack of old feed sacks. She should have run, called authorities, sealed the doors. That was what everyone said. The planet had only recently opened to Terran colonization, and no one knew whether the native species were dangerous. But she didn't run. She only saw the blood on its paw, and the fear in its glowing amber eyes. "It's all right," she had whispered. "No one should be alone when they're hurt." I stayed with her for 3 weeks, recovering its health, learning her voice, her scent, her gentle habits. And then one morning it vanished just as silently as it had arrived. 3 months later, the Zerfan, the alien feline species, made first peaceful contact with humans, and a single enormous Zerfan warrior had bowed to her during the diplomatic event, brushing its massive head against her shoulder. Taikari, the officials had stared. Her neighbors had gawked. Footage went across the Terran systems, but their reunion had been brief. The Zerfan lived nomadic lives, traveling through space with their prides. Their ships followed migratory routes, and I was swept back into the cosmic flow. 13 years, 13 lonely years. She had never seen him again. The WARNAG, the day things changed, began like any other. Margaret rubbed her arthritic fingers as she set a kettle on the stove. Her house AI blinked awake. "Good morning, Margaret." Atmospheric sensors detect unusual pressure activity. She frowned. "Storm coming." "No, this pattern does not match meteorological norms. It resembles warp displacement." Her heart thumped. Warp displacement meant ships. Ships meant visitors. Visitors meant she didn't allow herself to hope. The AI continued. "Colonial Authority has issued a Level 2 caution. Citizens are advised to remain indoors," she muttered. "Since when do they come up with new numbers for being scared of shadows?" She grabbed her coat. "Margaret," the AI said, "you are advised to remain inside." Let them advise. She stepped outside, and the sky tore open. A seam of shimmering violet light split the horizon, widening like a blooming flower. Columns of air twisted upward. Electromagnetic crackles danced across her skin. Her breath trembled. A ship emerged, sleek, dark, organic-looking, shaped like a predatory beast with folded wings. Zerfan design. She recognized it instantly. Her cane nearly slipped from her fingers. "Taikari," she whispered. But then a deafening roar thundered from the ship's siren systems, an unmistakable warning call. One the Zerfan used when a powerful creature was on the hunt. The Colonial Authority. Loudspeakers screamed across the plains. "All civilians, seek shelter. A Zerfan matriarch has entered the sector." Margaret froze. A matriarch, the most dangerous of the species. Larger than transport vessels, ancient, powerful, territorial. One had not approached a human settlement in decades. The ground shook, and the matriarch landed. The Arita ran. The beast that unfolded from the sky was colossal-like a panther mixed with a tempest. Muscles rippling under dark violet fur that shimmered like starlight. Her claws were as long as Margaret's forearm. The Colonial Authority defense drones hovered in a tense ring. Weapons locked on. "Stand down," an officer shouted, voice cracking. "Do not engage unless fired upon." Margaret barely heard him. Her eyes were fixed on the hatch, opening beneath the matriarch's chest. A smaller form leaped out. Powerful, swift, familiar. Takar I, older now. Fully grown, taller than a horse. Broader in the shoulders, eyes glowing like embered gold. His presence radiated strength and restrained. Danger, but when he saw her, his massive ears flattened, his tail bristled, his pupils widened like a star-going supernova. Sprinted across the field. The defense drones surged to intercept. Margaret raised her cane. "Stop," she screamed. Shockingly, the drones obeyed. Or rather, someone inside the command center overrode the interception. Takar I skidded to a halt inches from her porch, claws gouging trenches into the soil. He lowered himself until his head was level with hers, and then very gently he pressed his forehead against her chest, a Zerfan sign of devotion. She cupped his massive face with trembling hands. "You came back." A deep, rumbling purr vibrated her ribs. But the matriarch was approaching. Her footsteps shook the earth. Soldiers backed away, weapons tremoring in their grips. The matriarch's eyes were huge, golden suns, scanning everything: car, I, the house, and finally Margaret. Everyone expected an attack. Instead, the matriarch lowered her head and knelt. Gasps echoed from every soldier in earshot. A colonel whispered, "Why is she bowing to a human woman?" Tikar I lifted his head and emitted a series of deep, resonant growls, speaking in Zerfan tongue, explaining something urgent. The matriarch's gaze fell on Margaret again. Her eyes softened. A warm gust of air washed over the elderly woman. Why are you here?" Margaret asked softly. Takar I turned, lowering himself again, but this time he positioned his entire body between her and the soldiers. Protective, fierce. The matriarch padded closer. Lowering a massive paw. In its claws rested a small, spherical device. A projection ignited above, it showing a recording. Death world. A battle. Zerfan warriors falling one by one. Takar I among them, roaring. Bloodied, refusing to yield as an enemy creature slashed open his flank. Margaret's stomach tightened. Then came the crucial part. Takar I breaking away from the front lines, staggering to a console, activating a distress beacon, and a single holymage played in front of him. It was an old photo of Margaret and a much smaller Takar I. Taken during his first stay on Earth 3, he had kept it all these years. The recording ended. The matriarch spoke through a translator node attached to her throat, her voice deep and resonant. He called for his original, the one who shaped his path, the one he will follow onto the edge of stars. Margaret's eyes burned. "You mean me?" she whispered. "Yes." The soldiers stared, many of them trembling. A matriarch bowing was unheard of. But the shocks were not over. The Krko Itha matriarch lifted the sphere again. A new projection appeared, this time showing a star map. a territory marked in blazing red. Our kind is hunted, driven, the matriarch said. A devourer swarm consumes our ancestral roots. We seek a new path, a new homeworld. Margaret frowned. You want help? The matriarch shook her great head. We want you. The entire colonial authority force erupted. Absolutely not. She's elderly, she can't. This is irregular, unacceptable, stand down. The colonel shouted, but chaos rippled. Margaret raised a hand, silencing them all with surprising force. She looked up at the matriarch. Why me? Tekara stepped forward, lowering his huge head into her lap. She stroked the velvety fur between his ears as the translator collar conveyed his words. Mother of heart. You taught me compassion. You defied fear. Our pride needs that. Needs you. Margaret laughed softly. I'm just an old woman on a farm. The matriarch shook her head again. You are the human who welcomed a lost cub when all others would have slain him. Your kind speaks of humanity's fearlessness. We have seen it in you. Tekar, I pressed closer. Come with us, or allow us to remain with you. But choose. My pride stands with your heart. Silence fell. Even the wind grew still. Margaret looked round at her quiet farm, her creaky porch, the old rocking chair, the empty fields. Her husband had passed long ago. Her children lived off-world, rarely visiting. She had tended this place alone for years, but here before her stood family, not of blood, but of choice, her choice. She placed her hand on TACI's forehead. I made you a promise 13 years ago. Do you remember? His ears perked. I told you that no one should be alone when they're hurt. His chest rumbled with emotion. She smiled. So where you go? I go. The matriarch rose, letting out a powerful raw one that echoed across the plains. Announcing the forging of a new pride, the soldiers stepped back. Stunned, Margaret took a breath. Well then, she said. Help me pack my kettle and a few old photos. And maybe my arthritis medicine. Take her. I lowered himself, allowing her to climb onto his broad back. She stroked his fur. Take me home, dear. He purred like a starship engine warming up. The matriarch spread her wings. The ship opened, and the elderly woman, who had ignored fear and welcomed a wounded alien 13 years ago, was carried upward into the sky toward a future no human had ever known. And shocked the colonial authority attempted to explain it for months afterward, but no speech. No report, no analysis could capture the truth. An elderly human woman had been adopted into an alien pride. A matriarch had bowed to her, and a warrior had crossed the stars to bring her home. Humanity was shaken. The Zerfan were transformed, and Margaret Keensley, she simply smiled and said, I only did what anyone should do. I showed kindness, and kindness always finds its way back.